Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Western's inaugural Space Day. I am the Dean of Science, Charmaine Dean, and I am thrilled by this event. I am thrilled because of its connection to our exceptional Center for Planetary Science and Exploration, filled with superb researchers and excellent graduate students who make outstanding contributions to the field. And I'm also thrilled because it's superb to have our center have such a close connection to Chapman. So our linkage here is made stronger by this event, and I'm very pleased to have you all here today to celebrate with us. This university has a very long and distinguished history, contributing expertise to the space program even before Canada became a spacefaring nation. Today we're here to celebrate space research at Western and to honor the man whose vision, inspiration, and perseverance launched Canada into space and created the strong foundation upon which our students, faculty, and the Canadian space industry innovate daily. With us here today, and I'll ask you to stand as I call you out, are several special guests that I am delighted to introduce. Please help me welcome Mr. David Chapman, grandson of John H. Chapman. How special it is to have the lifeblood here with us today. And I will tell you that we'll have him here for a little while as he's going to be joining in September the Faculty of Law. Gloria, Leckie, Chair of the London Library Board, Public Library Board. Stéphane Desjardins, Director of Space Exploration Development from the Canadian Space Agency. And Michael Vergala, our keynote speaker from Moon Express. We will begin Space Day with a special tribute, followed by an inaugural keynote speech, several presentations from our graduate students, which some of you will have seen already, a poster presentation, and a reception in our lovely atrium outside. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Gloria Leckie, Chair of the London Public Library Board, to bring greetings.
Thank you, Charmaine. I'm delighted to be here on behalf of the London Public Library. This is a very exciting event and one which we've been working towards with Western University for a while now, so it's very wonderful to see it all come together. On behalf of the Library Board, I'd like to give a special thanks to Charmaine Dean, Dean of the Faculty of Science, and Godon Osinski, Director of the Center for Planetary Science and Exploration, for their support of the plaque we are unveiling today. It is wonderful to work with such enthusiastic partners in ensuring that the story of John Herbert Chapman continues to be known and to be shared. I also wish to extend the Library Board's deep appreciation to the members of the Historic Sites Committee. Through their tireless research and ongoing work of this volunteer committee, Londoners and visitors to the city are able to connect to and understand more fully the significance of local buildings, places, people, and accomplishments. The plaques that have been erected show the wide range of human experience and the many layers of London's cultural landscape. I should also point out that the work of the Historic Sites Committee of the London Public Library Board is financially supported by our community partners, such as Western University, and through a grant from the London Community Foundation's London Endowment for Heritage Fund. You may know that London Public Library is dedicated to providing Londoners with accessible, rich, and unique resources for local and personal history research. Many of these resources reside in our Ivy Family London Room at the Central Library. With our new strategic plan, Library Space is Community Place, we have made it a priority to increase access to content of enduring value held in the London Room. Thank you again, Western Science and CPSX, for creating such a welcome home for this wonderful plaque. We look forward to continuing to work with Western University and our local heritage partners on opportunities such as these to tell our shared stories. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jonathan Vance. I'm the chair of the Historic Sites Committee, also a faculty member here at the university. I was involved with this plaque from the very beginning, and it was a number of probably 4 or 5 years ago that I first sat down to chat with Oz about putting this together, and I'm delighted to have it come to fruition. One of the best things about serving as chair of this committee is that you get to learn all sorts of fascinating things about remarkable people. John Herbert Chapman, the man we're honoring today, is one such person. Now, he's not someone that I would normally encounter in my own research. I'm a historian. He was a scientist. And I will be quite frank and say that much of what he did is a mystery to me. So when I tell you that Chapman was interested in launching a scientific satellite that would act as an ionospheric topside sounder, please know that I have no idea what that means. But if I don't understand the science, I can understand remarkable achievement, and that's what we're recognizing today. And I just wanted to provide a couple of minutes of background to Chapman and his contributions. He came from a London family of merchants. He was the son of Lloyd Poole Chapman and Kathleen Saunders Allen. Lloyd had served in the artillery during the First World War. He was awarded the Military Cross. After the war, he returned to work at his father's store, J.H. Chapman and Company Dry Goods, Millinery, and Ladies' Ready-to-Wear, which eventually became Chapman's specialty shop. So John Herbert Chapman was raised in a family of ladies' clothiers, which is perhaps good training for anything. Kathleen Allen and Lloyd Chapman married in 1920, moved to a house at 43 Grand Avenue, where John Herbert Chapman was born in 1921. He served in the Royal Canadian Air Force during the Second World War. He attended the University of Western Ontario, so he knew this campus, he knew this building. And for those of you who are students here, you should know that the very rooms in which you study were the same rooms in which he studied. When he was a student at Western, he lived at 434 Dufferin Ave, which I believe is now a parking lot, sadly. He was a member of the Kappa Tau Sigma fraternity, and he received his Bachelor of Science degree in June 1948, an honors BSc in physics, math, and radiophysics. After finishing at Western, he went over to the dark side and went to McGill, where he completed a master's degree with a thesis entitled A Critical Investigation of Tuned Audio Amplifiers in April 1949. And remained at McGill to do his doctorate. His dissertation was submitted in August 1951, was entitled The Fading of Radio Echoes from the Ionosphere. And for those of you who are contemplating graduate work, keep in mind that he went from his BA to finishing his PhD in a little under 3 years. Something for you all to aspire to. After graduation, Dr. Chapman became superintendent and deputy chief superintendent in the Defense Research Telecommunications Establishment, positions that he held from 1949 to 1968. Later, Assistant Deputy Minister for Research from 68 to 74, and finally, Assistant Deputy Minister for the Space Program within the Department of Communications from 1974 to 79. One of the notions that guided John Herbert Chapman's work was his conviction of the need to design and build space hardware using Canadian industries rather than relying solely on government laboratories. And this thinking would power much of what he did in his career. At the end of 1958, when Chapman was at the Defense Research Telecommunications Establishment, Canada submitted a proposal to NASA for a scientific satellite to act as the famous ionospheric topside sounder to study the effects of the ionosphere on radio communications in the North. This would go on to become the Alouette program. And as Canadian coordinator of the program, Chapman was instrumental in the successful launch of Alouette 1 in September 1962. With Alouette, Canada became the third nation to design and build its own satellite. It was followed by Alouette 2 and ISIS-1 and ISIS-2. In 1966, Chapman was appointed chairman of a government study group to examine the upper atmosphere and also to examine space programs in Canada. And the resulting report was a landmark contribution to Canada's space policy and led to the redirection of Canadian space programs from scientific to application satellites. Telesat was created in 1969, launched Anik A1 in November 1972, making Canada the first country to have its own domestic geostationary communications satellite system. Chapman also worked outside of North America. He was behind Canada's cooperative program with NASA and the European Space Agency to design, build, and demonstrate the Hermes communication technology satellite. This was launched in 1976, forerunner to the direct-to-home TV broadcast satellites. And that's something I can understand, TV broadcast satellites. Chapman's lobbying also played a role in the creation of the National Space Agency in 1990. But sadly, John Herbert Chapman did not see its birth. His untimely death in 1979 robbed Canada of a passionate advocate for the Canadian space industry and of the desire to use space technology to serve the needs of the Canadian people. His list of awards is long and points to his distinction. He won, amongst other things, the McCurdy Award from the Canadian Aeronautics and Space Institute, the Dellinger Gold Medal from the International Union of Radio Scientists. He was a Fellow of the Royal Society of Canada. He won the MacNaughton Award from the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, and he was awarded several honorary doctorates. In 1996, the headquarters of the Canadian Space Agency was renamed the John H. Chapman Space Centre to commemorate his accomplishments and his contributions to space industry. And first awarded in the year 2000, the John H. Chapman Award of Excellence is a tribute to a scientist whose vision for the development of space reflects Canada's values as well as its present and future needs. I would be remiss, though, if I didn't, at least at the very end of my remarks, allow the honoree himself to have a few words. And so I want to close with a wonderful comment that summarizes his vision for space research and also his contribution. In the second century of Confederation, the fabric of Canadian society will be held together by strands in space, just as strongly as railway and telegraphy held together the scattered provinces in the last century. So with those words ringing in our ears, we will get to the unveiling of our program. Wow.